up, loungers? I hope everybody's doing as great as I am on this beautiful Sunday. Listen, guys, we have a lot to get into today in regards to Sylvester James. We did talk about him a couple of weeks ago and talked about about his, about his career and different things like that, how he passed and different things like that. But we never really talked about what happened to him in the Cogic Church. Okay, so we're definitely going to discuss that today. We're also going to discuss how that tragedy actually turned into triumph for him. Okay. And then we're going to talk about some other things going on too around, the sector and different things like that. So I'm definitely going to add some church announcements to this story today and talk about some different things happening. And then we're going to get all into all this stuff. Okay. So make sure that you guys go ahead and grab up some libations or grab up something, because we're going to be here for a little bit of time, just kind of going into this story and talking about how serious this has been, and how this has really affected a lot of people, not just him, but many other people. Okay. Definitely appreciate you all being in the building. Make sure that you guys do hit the like button on the way in, and let's go ahead and get started, guys.
trials and tribulations, but I made it.
Amen, 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 church. I hope everybody is doing as great as I am today. Shout out to all of y'all for being in the building. Make sure that y'all do hit the like button. Beautiful Bernice, I truly appreciate you for being in, as well as Riz Lyricist, as well as Teresa. I appreciate you for being in as well. You said fantastic career, hard, but it showed happiness in life and a painful death. And yes, it did. It definitely did. And we're going to talk about his life today. We're going to talk a little bit more in depth about his career and some things that he has accomplished. And then we're also going to talk about how the tragedies that happened in his childhood actually propelled him into his career. Okay, so we're going to talk about those things and get kind of deep into that. But before I do, and yeah, I understood what you were saying. But before I do, and what's up, Smoke God? I appreciate you for being in the building as well. You said salute everyone listening. Get those likes up. Definitely appreciate that. You said I catch all your lives. I appreciate that, and I do catch yours as well. I might not always be there at late at night and stuff, but I do catch your lives. Definitely appreciate all the support from everybody. So right now we're actually going to talk about some quick church announcements, okay, honey? And this is for the AAS sector, okay, and anti-Afro and all the stuff that's been going on in the sector. I definitely want to talk about a couple of things, not everything, but a couple of things. Just kind of give my opinion on some stuff and particularly go over AAS's community wall. Y'all know we like to do that. So we're going to go ahead and start the show off with church announcements, child. Now, listen. Now, I know that there's a lot of kerfuffles happening. There's a couple of people kind of going back and forth. But one of the things that I think is a triumph in the sector is that I am no longer beefing with P. Okay. Now, I was really never beefing with him to begin with, but I think we have a bit of a truce because I actually want to invite P on the show for a future topic. And it's going to be about gun safety and gun violence and how women in particular and Black women in particular can, what types of guns Black women can use, what kinds of guns we should have or can have in our possession that are safe, that we may feel a little bit safer with, as opposed to heavier artillery and different things like that. And just kind of talk about those things because we were talking about that a little bit the other day. And he, being an avid gun owner, I think he would be great for that conversation. And even some other people in the sector as well, because they also are into that kind of stuff. And so am I. So I definitely wanted to have those conversations. I think it's important that Black women are talking about gun safety more and talking about, owning firearms and, how to own them properly and what to do with them, when you do have them, right? So I think that really is a good and healthy conversation that I'd love to open up. And so I plan on opening that up with P, and shout out to P for that. Now, let's also talk about this brand new kerfuffle going on with, well, it's not new, right? It's actually pretty old. But I thought it was dead, really, to be honest, because I haven't heard eyes talking about this girl. But anyway, everybody's heard that Breaking the Culture is out here now saying that she wants to get in the ring in like 5 days with Eyes Antonio. Okay. After nobody's trained for nothing. We haven't done any weight class checks. We haven't done any of this shit, but we're just supposed to fall out of the sky and set up a ring fight between two bitches in two different states, right? Over some YouTube clout. Here's my thing, right? At the end of the day, I think we all know, or at least those who want to admit it, all know that Breaking is just kind of reaching for straws and looking for something to be relevant, right? At the end of the day, this is my advice to her. And, I'm not even trying to be smart or nothing. At the end of the day, nobody has canceled you breaking. Just be yourself. Okay. Yes, yes, I did drag your motherfucking ass for disrespecting my family like you did and disrespecting me like you did. And like I said, in particular, my kids, right? That part I dragged you for. But that doesn't mean that now you're done and nobody should talk to you and nobody's talking to you and nobody fuck with you. People still talk to you. People still are cool with you. People still like you. Just be your goddamn self, okay? Like that's all you got to do. All this other stuff that you're trying to do, like you went right one day and was taking pictures. And I had to look, right? After I heard this shit, I went and looked on your page just to look. And one day you taking like professional photos and stuff, and you look really nice in those photos. I was like, all right, girl, you getting your shit together. I see you. I don't see the kids, but okay, that's I'm gonna leave that alone. You know what I mean? Maybe you doing what you gotta do to get in their life, okay? But you got your shit together, wearing nice little suits and stuff, and got your shit like you doing some professional shit, right? Sound like you getting your mental health together. Sound like you doing some shit right, right? And then the next day you want to set up a fight with eyes, a bitch who ain't even been talking about you. Like, girl, I'm gonna need you to have several seats, okay? It really ain't that damn deep. It really ain't, okay? There's so many other positive things we could be doing, right? Other than fighting each other and all this other stuff. I mean, let's keep in mind, you're the one that's dropping her address, to her job and where she live at, all up in people chat rooms and different shit like that. You the one doing that, right? So it's not like she's stalking you and she's trying to fight with you. You've been doing this with her. You're the one that has, everybody's information. And should I remind you? Do I need to play that timer again where you are the one that said, that you were out here, you got everybody's shit, you done recorded this, you done recorded that. You're the one with all this information. So at some point, right, you got to learn how to let shit go. Like you got to just, take your losses or cut your losses or whatever, or cut your wins, whatever you want to call it, and just move the fuck on, right? Because the entire sector is literally moving on. Nobody gives a fuck about that shit no more. Really, nobody cares about any of this shit no more. It's over with. Move the fuck on, homegirl. Like it's not that deep. That's all I'm gonna say about that. I ain't gonna drag you and go through that whole thing. But at the end of the day, it's time to move on. You know what I'm saying? Like clearly you're trying to do something right. Clearly you're trying to get some shit together, right? I mean, I don't know what the fuck it is, but I know a damn ain't no charges against me. I know that. But clearly you're trying to get your life together, right? So let that be what it is and let that speak for itself. You know what I'm saying? And move on. Unless you're not, and this is just all a farce for the sector, which is just stupid because none of us give a fuck. Real shit. Okay? But I'm just saying. Just had to tell you that. But anyway, let's get into AAS and her community wall, honey. And then when we're done with that, we are definitely going to go ahead and get into the rest of this stuff. Yeah, you said P cool. You said, what's up, Vici? I appreciate you being in the building. You said, yeah, P is cool. I like P. He get on my nerves sometimes, but he's cool. I ain't really beefing with him. You said, Vici, salute. I'm not sure when I want to have this conversation. I got to coordinate it with P and just, we'll get together, but really soon, because I think that this is something we should definitely be talking about. We don't talk about enough, and you don't hear enough Black women actually having this type of conversation, right? Especially here on YouTube. Usually got to take it somewhere else, but I definitely think we should be, having this conversation about gun safety and nice and good quality guns that Black women can own. That are, pretty compact. They're not all huge and big and everything. Unless you want some big shit, we can talk about that too. But, definitely things that, you can have, right in your possession, you know what I'm saying, that are good for you to have. And it's unfortunate sometimes we got to talk about gun safety and stuff for ourselves and, having firearms in our possession, but these are things, this is the world we live in, and that's unfortunate. We can't always have somebody here to protect us, and we don't always want to beat somebody to fuck up, right? So we might just have to pull one on somebody, and you got to know how and what to do and what to have, and those kinds of things. So let's just have that great topic. What's up, Carla Martin? I appreciate you. You said, peace, Miss T. Breaking the culture is trying to be relevant. F her. Hashtag when is the wedding? Okay, like let's worry about that while we worried about setting up fights and rings and all this. Come on, we ain't doing that shit, honey. We not doing all that. Okay, we ladies out here. Like, yeah, we'll fight you. You know what I mean? If you want to fight, you just pull the fuck up. We gonna fight. Like, we ain't gotta go through the whole ring thing or nothing. We just gonna fight, right? If that's what you really want to do. But at the end of the day, I don't think you really want to. So since you don't, then leave that shit alone, girl. It's over. Okay, it's over. You lost. You lost that one. Okay, that's done. You said happy blessed Sunday, Miss T Pre in chat. Same to you, Redbone. I appreciate you, Redbone, with the new money. Appreciate you, sis, for being in the building. You said great topic. I like certain weapons, but I have big hands and the grips are short to me. Yeah, there's several weapons I like too, and I'd like to tell you guys about the ones that I like. And then, we can just get into all of that stuff. But I definitely think that this is important. So I did. You said I'm late, but T-Free, have you heard of the Queen Op stuff? It's a mess. Yeah, it's like a lot going on. And I was looking into it and I'm just a little bit confused right now. So I'm still sitting back and watching that. The same way I've been also watching stuff over in the beef sector. I'm getting a lot more acquainted with what's going on over there, but I'm not acquainted enough to just give commentary on it yet. But I'm definitely going to be giving some commentary on probably both of them topics because I don't know what's up with this Shell and Queen Ops and these people is crazy. Okay, these people is crazy. So yeah, I have been keeping up with that a little bit, but it's a little bit confusing still on what's going on. So I'm just watching and observing, but I know they crazy as shit. But what's up, LV? Definitely appreciate that. You said Redbone, but when you're ready on the personal, you said LV. You said take your L and keep it moving, AAS. Okay, right, Steph. Appreciate you being in the building as well. Let's go ahead and read some of these AAS comments real quick, and then we are going to get into our baby Sylvester. Okay. Now, AAS says anyone who asserts to be assailed based on protected group class status, but initiates attacks using anti-protected group content is the aggressor. Misgendering, directing homophobic attacks towards men, bigoted parodies with themes of men being transgender, cross-dresser, playing with dolls, etc., is anti-protected group conduct. Those who obsessively engage in those acts do so unprovoked by their targets. Such subjects find non-bigoted, non-actionable responses intolerable and suddenly convert to victims. No one on off YouTube will control us. Who the fuck is us? Or intimidate us out of advocating for our rights or those we care about. Our filing or responding to any complaints will include copies of deleted videos, shorts, posts, etc., that clearly identify the aggressors. It will also be shown how the aggressors move from space to space with their conduct. This will dispense all false claims by aggressors that they're victims. Well, is that really so, ma'am? Because here's the thing. It turns out so that during this time that you're talking about, ma'am, you and such us people that you're talking about partook in all of such behavior. Okay. Y'all were doing this exactly the way that you described it, from space to space. Hey, I am human. I appreciate you being in the building. You said hey to Teresa. You said, yeah, that Queen Op is total demon from hell. Okay. word. But anyway, yeah, so you literally have partook in such behavior since I've known about you. Okay, like literally, you have. You have been talking about people being gay, people being this. You've even said that about me. Like you've even told the world, and I have that too, since you have all these clips and people have clips of everything. Shout out to Catherine Brown. I have clips of that too, with you saying how gay I am, right? And how, because I have this gay oppressed feelings and I'm oppressing my gay feelings. And it was something else you said, but either way, you have often said that. You have said these things about Shock and Ra. You've said these things about multiple people. And so has Rev G, right? has done that on multiple occasions. So, I mean, if you want to go back and forth making complaints and going to court and, which we know y'all are behind opening up this Archibald suit again, but either way, if you want to go back and forth doing all that over, stuff that you have partaken in, then, have at it. I mean, we'll just be there with you to go ahead and have fun with you on that stuff, because at the end of the day, like literally, y'all have spent a few years doing that same shit, okay, with multiple people. So whoever you're talking about that you're claiming has done so much to you and has said all these things about you, about being gay and about protected class things and different things like that, just make sure that you put and include your behavior in that as well. While y'all were in chats doing this, where y'all have been on panels with this same stuff, like make sure you include all of that as well. Okay. Now you can claim, it's attacks and it's retaliations or whatever you claim it is. Okay. But the burden of proof would be on you to prove that. Okay. But either way, ma'am, just keep in mind your part in all of this. Okay. And the people that you claim are us, the Rev G's of the people, he's the only us that's still on your team right now. Yeah, him. Yeah, you got to look at all his shit with that shit too. Okay. So just remember that when you're talking about that. Now let's go ahead and let's go on to the next one. Okay. Exactly. AAS survivor. Okay. Appreciate you being in the building. You said, excuse me, AASLM. How Liz Martin? How about all that shit you've said about me and Rod? Yeah, how about Stephanie Collins? And how many times you've talked about her? And keep in mind, Steph is, it claims to be a part of the LGBT community. Ma'am, I don't. Okay, I am not part of the LGBT community. I support the LGBT community, but I'm not, and I'm not lesbian. Okay, I'm not. I'm not bisexual. I'm not any of that. But yet you've talked about me and my sexuality and said it publicly. I believe that video is still public. So, hey, have at it, ma'am, because I'm not making any complaints because I don't give a fuck what you fucking think. Okay. But since you are so concerned with what everybody thinks and you want to contact all these agencies and get all this stuff, complaints and files and everything, make sure that you include everything that you have said as well, ma'am. Okay. Just be sure that you include all of that. You said, don't matter if it's retaliatory. Okay. You said, hey, Steph Collins. You said, not AAS survivor. Yes. We got our favorite troll in here today, AAS survivor. You should have had a picture of breaking the culture up there for her. Yeah, but either way, go ahead and change that to breaking the culture, because she is now an AAS survivor. All right, let's get into the next one. She said, watching a compulsive liar scramble to do damage control when the secrets are unfolding is quite entertaining. It really is. When we see that happen with y'all all the time, like when y'all be like, compulsively lying all the time on everything. And then when y'all get damaged, to watch y'all scramble around for damage control is absolutely hilarious, just to let you know. So you're absolutely right about that. I'll put a like on that for you, AAS. All right, you said those who follow YouTube guidelines, policies simply move onward without concern. The foolish who issue public threats against those who abide by YouTube Google policies are the ones who often find themselves in peril. One example of quote unquote peril is having 3 strikes on 2 channels. Hashtag loss is never boss. Okay, well, I guess that's for the bestie. Okay, I don't know who that's for, but either way, yeah, y'all just spend way too much time invested in this bullshit, AAS and Rev G. Y'all need something to do. Okay, you definitely need to find something else to talk about outside of the sector. Some things that are, other things going on in the world, some stuff that people care about that are, important to people, that kind of thing. Okay, I'm not putting a like on that because that was corny. All right, let's go ahead and keep going. You said thin-skinned, spineless loudmouths continue to spiral in their own frustration and anger, which they created all on their own. Well, who the hell is she talking about? Like, because the only one that I've seen that's been thin skinned, spineless, loudmouth, continuing to spiral within their frustration is the AFW. That be you and Rev G. Y'all two the only ones that be doing that bullshit. Okay, so I mean, yeah, okay, I guess that be y'all. All right. Let's go on to the next one. And these were all yesterday, y'all. Every single one of these shits was yesterday, y'all. This is crazy, okay? This is crazy. You said there are boss moves, then there are loss moves. Be careful what all the harm you are doing. It'll come back to you sooner or later. Okay, well, yeah, that I think that's what's manifesting in your face right now. Okay, all the bullshit that you've been doing for the past few years is now coming back to bite you in the ass. Okay, that's pretty much what the fuck is happening. You and Rev G, yeah, y'all two is getting all that heat, okay, from all that stuff and all that energy that y'all been putting out, all that negativity that y'all been putting out here. That's exactly what's going on, okay? And you're still doing it. You just get obsessed with people and you just can't let go. This was also yesterday. Targeting, harassing, threatening, and lying on anyone based on an agenda spoon fed by another never works out well for the fool who accepted the flunky assignment. Did y'all hear that, Rev G and Breaking the Culture? Okay. She said, let me tell you what she said. She said, targeting, harassing, threatening, and lying on anyone based on an agenda spoon fed by another never works out well for the fool who accepted the flunky assignment. Let me give her a hand clap for that. And y'all, there's some more stuff coming. I got a couple more church announcements in just a second. Yeah, but hand clap for that because that is absolutely right, ma'am. You are 100% correct on that. Okay, that is exactly what has happened every single time. You were the one that was spoon feeding somebody some bullshit. It ended up being a disaster for the fool who ate your bullshit. Okay, and that happened every time. Like we can go down a history of times that happened. Okay, like you be talking about yourself a lot in your community posts, man. Do you be like, I wonder if you like come out of yourself to talk about yourself, or do you just stay with it? I don't know what be going on, but whatever be going on, ma'am, you be talking about you, okay? Just to let you know. And we can just read that and be like, damn right, girl. I'm going to go ahead and put a like on that for you, AAS, okay? Then you said, this is YouTube's domain. Far too many subjects forget this and actually believe they own the gig. Ain't that the truth too? Like you have believed that you own this place for so long, ma'am, for so long that you feel that you have the power to silence people to the level that since you can't silence them on this space, you think you can call their jobs, call their families, contact law enforcement and all these other things to get people to shut up on a platform that you don't own. Okay, yeah. Like you can actually take your ass up out of here just like anybody else can take their ass up out of here, right? You can tune into what you want to, just like everybody else can tune into what they want to, right? And they can talk about what they want to within guidelines, right? As you can talk about what you want to within guidelines. So again, do you come out of your body and have like an out of body experience when you're talking on your time wall, because your community wall, because literally, ma'am, you be describing yourself, like you and your friends. That's who you be describing. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. We're going to go into this one. I think we're going to be done with her because I'm kind of tired of going over her now. She said, losers never know how to win, no matter how hard they try. You know what? You most definitely are correct on that. And you should be telling your friends this. Send that out in a company email, AAS, okay? Make sure Breakin gets that. Make sure that Rev G gets that, okay? Because losers never know how to win. They just keep on coming back and keep on coming back and keep on losing, okay? Because they are losers, okay? They need to be taught how to win first. And then once they learn how to win, then they will stop doing the same bullshit that they've been doing that's had them losing. Okay. I just wanted to say that. I just want to say that. So you're absolutely right, AAS. I'm going to go ahead and put a like on that for you. Make sure that y'all go over and subscribe to Anti-Afro Svengali for all her moments, okay? And every so often, we will probably put her as part of the church announcements for the church, okay? Now, let's talk about one other thing that I am doing, because I told you guys that I will be doing true crime. Excuse me. That I'll be doing true crime, and I am. But I wanted it to be completely perfected. I wanted to make sure that I had it right. I wanted to make sure that I've got everything the way that I want it to go. So I have ordered some things. Okay, I have a lot of things already, but then I realized there were some other things I needed. Right. So I have a few things on the way. One is a really good microphone, and the other one is some padding. I have some other stuff that I'm doing for the studio, and I'm kind of revamping the entire studio for Black Lounge and doing the background and doing some other things. I've got some equipment coming because I really want this to be great. Okay. Um, I plan on niching the entire channel down to pretty much true crime, or anything that goes along with true crime, or also the Cogic Church, or anything going on with cults or anything like that, because it all kind of goes together. And a lot of the stories that I have kind of intertwine with, all with those same genres. Okay, so either way, I'm excited about that. I've got some stuff that I'll be on camera. I'm going to be talking face to face with y'all. I'm also going to be editing those videos and adding some, effects and different things like that to those videos as well. And I'm really, really excited about all of this. So I've done taken a lot of time to figure out how I'm going to do it, what I'm going to do. And shout out to my son. He actually helped me design the studio and figured out how I wanted to do it and what monitors I wanted to use and different things like that. I've got some new lighting coming. I've got all kinds of stuff happening, and I've gotten some really great tips on the backgrounds and the lightings and different things. So I'm really, really, really happy to say that all of that is coming into play. It's all starting to come into fruition. And I'm really, really excited about it. So you guys hold off. It's going to be a couple of weeks until I have everything fully in place the way that I want it. But we are still going to be doing True Crime at Bedtime. Those videos will be uploads, so they won't be lives, but they will be uploads, and you will be able to see them. I'll probably premiere them, but they'll be coming on like around 9:30, 10 o'clock at night, because they're late night video. They're like late night videos. Okay. So these are kind of really crazy, bizarre, stories and stuff like that. And I think it's better to just play it like real late at night. So I was thinking like, well, late at night is not necessarily 10:30, but I'm thinking like, I want you guys to be able to catch the videos too. And I don't want, most people are going to bed around that time. So I'm thinking that time I would play them, but I'll go ahead and put a poll up too and see what you guys want to do at what times, but we'll do that a little bit later on. But really excited for the loungers for that. The members will get the videos first, okay? And then they will premiere to the public. Some videos will only be members only, okay? There's a couple of videos that I have that are so gruesome, they need to be only members only. And so those ones will be for the members only, but most of the videos will be public. And there's a lot of videos out here. There's a whole lot of stuff going on out here in just our community alone. And then we've got some other true crime stories we can talk about too. Okay. So I'm really, really excited about this because this is my thing. I watch a lot of true crime. And this is just kind of what I do. And I end up finding out about a lot of stories from either things I watch or stuff that's being sent to me too. Because I've got a lot of people that do send me things too. So shout out to those that send me stories. You guys can definitely send me stories to my Instagram at Black Lounge Divine, or you can send it over to my email at lovinglife7842 and just let me know. And I will most definitely share those stories. If you know about missing Black girls, missing Black boys, let me know about it. I will feature it on my channel. If you know any of those things, definitely let me know because this is what we are getting into. Okay. All right, guys. So let's go ahead and start talking about Sylvester's story. Okay. Because there is a lot that is happening with Sylvester. Let me go ahead and get into your comments first, and then I will get into this right here. What's up, Make a Change? I appreciate you being in the building. You said, so does she think she owns it? Right. I think she thinks she owns it. Well, we had to let her know she does not. You said she's a loser and a simp. Okay. You said, T Pre, I think true crime is my lane. It's definitely my lane. Most definitely my lane. I'm so excited about this, guys. Like, I've got the ambience going on. I've got the voice. I've got the stories. I've got so many stories, so many. And they're like dropping in my lap so much that I had to start kind of organizing this, right? Because I'm like, okay, like, which one do I want to do? And I've got like 4 that I've been working on. 2 of them are already done. But like I said, before I deliver it, I'm going to deliver it right. Okay. I don't want it to just be delivered. I really want to deliver it properly. So I've been doing that, and just, you guys are going to like it. I know you guys are going to love it. Okay. So I'm very, very excited about this, and I can see my channel really growing huge to huge masses with this. And like I said, this is kind of why I've been staying away from, the beef and all that stuff, is because I really want to push the channel into that direction. And if I'm going to do that with this channel, I cannot be doing that. Now, I can create another channel for the beefing, right? We can do that. But here I can, this is not what I want to do. And I've privated most of those videos. There's a lot of videos that I have not, because, like the Vixen Chronicles and all that stuff, that's all true crime and all that. That's all part of the Cogic Church stuff. That's fine. That could stay right there. There's some other stuff I've got, like true crime stuff that's still there, and other things. But there's some stuff that I have privated. So, because it just doesn't go along with the genre of the channel. So, however hard it may be to see or ugly it can be, anti-LGBT sentiments, comments, humor, etc., including personal attacks, are generally protected by the First Amendment, right? You said, nice try, nice T Pre. Oh, thank you. You said, that's right, Stephanie. Mm-hmm. You said, I love true crime too. Yeah, me too. I've always been into it. You said, I'm curious how AASLM YouTubers attorney at YouTube Law concludes they are actionable, and to whom they are going to take these actions, right? And whose money they going to spend to do so as well, right? You said the Law and Crime channel is good. Yes, yes. You said, I know Carly making true crimes, LOL. Okay. Now once I get the full story on her, I do plan on doing a story on Carly Russell. But I need to get the full story. I need to get all the details. I need to find out what happens, and kind of, so it's probably going to be down the line before we see that, but we will get a Carly Russell story here on Black Lounge. But right now we've got a lot of Black girls that are missing to talk about. We've got a lot of other people that, to talk about right now. We've got some celebrity true crime as well to talk about. So I definitely want to get into those things. And then we'll get, we got plenty of time to talk about that stuff. So you guys go ahead and buckle in, because we got a long summer and a long winter coming, and a long fall coming. But it's going to be great. We're going to have a great time. And I'm really excited about the new setup and everything too. So, all right, guys. So let's go ahead and get started with Sylvester, because there is a lot happening with him. And again, make sure that you guys do hit the like button on the way in. We're going to first play a song. And like I said, I didn't tell you guys, but I'm not going to monetize this video, because even though YouTube will allow me to play his music, they do not allow you to monetize. You can't even revenue share. So, which is understandable, because everything that goes to Sylvester, and any monies that are go to royalties for him, are actually donated to the AIDS Foundation. Okay, so I am perfectly fine with not monetizing on this video and allowing any of that money to go towards to Sylvester and go towards the AIDS Foundation. So for that, we're going to go ahead and play this. And again, make sure that you guys do hit the like button. All right, let's go ahead and get into this now.
dancing on the floor, darling, and I feel like I need some more, and I feel your body close to mine, and I know my love it's about that time. Make me feel not real, make me feel not real. You make me feel not real. You make me feel not real. When we get home, darling, and it's nice and dark, and the music's in the room, feel your heart and you get me back, and it feels real good, and I know you love me like you should. Oh, you make me feel not real. You make me feel not real. 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 Feel real. I feel real. I feel real. I feel real. Real real. I feel 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 real. Real real. I feel real. I'm real real. You got to feel my real. You got to feel my real. Oh, you gotta keep me real. My real. You gotta feel my real. Oh, feel you when you touch me. I feel you when you kiss me. I feel real when you touch me. I feel real when you hold me.
All right, y'all. Listen, that's one of my favorite songs from Sylvester, Mighty Real. Okay. And he, amongst many other songs that he has that I absolutely love. Of course, I wasn't going to go ahead and take up all of y'all time with all of his music, but definitely one day, maybe we will go ahead and have a tribute to that and even possibly do a donation over to the AIDS Foundation as well. Now, keep that in mind, content creators. Anytime that you play music from Sylvester, and you play it publicly, you won't be able to monetize off of it, which is a perfect and great thing because everything that he wished, he willed that to the AIDS Foundation. And so everything goes to them. And I think that's wonderful. And that is why I think, it is okay to do such a thing. So shout out to Sylvester for all of his triumphs. And we're definitely going to get into those today. But before I do, let me go ahead and get into you guys' comments. You said you love true crime too. You said, I'm curious. Oh, okay. I think I got into that one. You said, okay, I think I got into that one too. You said, that's really cool, Pri. Thank you. No problem. That's something that, I would definitely do. And I think we can all get together and kind of do that one day as well. You said, true crime is interesting, Miss T. Pri. 100. My ex is a narrator of true crime. He's making really good money on YouTube. Okay, how about that? That's what's up. You said, hello, everyone. What's up, Living Life? I appreciate you being in the building. You said, mighty real. Okay. You said, hey, Steph. You said he's even cammed up because they didn't think he was black. I bet, being over in England. And you know what? There is some black true crime stories in England too, okay, that I'm going to be talking about. There are some white true crime stories over there too, like the White House Farm, I think they were called, murders. There was some other ones over there too that was going on over there that I would like to talk about as well. But I can imagine, yeah. So this is another reason why I want to cam up too, to talk about it. It just makes it more personable, and just, it just makes the ambience is just better when you're doing that, and people can kind of connect with you better. So yeah, everybody was jamming. That's my jam too. Yeah. You said realness historically in the LGBT community, especially amongst gay Black men who were not gender conforming, meant loosely how well one could pass amongst the straights. Yeah. And, that's something to talk about, because Sylvester, during this time when he was coming up and he was, doing his thing, this was a time where it was frowned upon for anybody to come out as gay. And if you did come out as gay, it was like, okay, but don't walk around as a woman, right? So, the drag, being dressed, as women and being dressed that way, and those types of competitions and stuff were held underground, right? Those were things that were not held openly like they are today. And so, men didn't generally walk around like that. Like the Village People, for instance, was a gay group, but they were not walking around in women's clothing, or, in public. They walked around in men's clothes and stuff like that, even though everybody, just kind of knew, but they didn't walk around openly this way. Sylvester, on the other hand, was completely different. He was openly gay and openly, in his element. He didn't care. He wore makeup, he wore sequins, he wore heels, he wore wigs, he did the whole thing. And he did it openly and everywhere he went. And he did it unapologetically. And he paved the way for what we see today. And I know that if he was still alive, and like I said, if he was still alive, he'd be about 76, somewhere around there. And he would be proud of seeing where the community has come today, and how far even AIDS research has come, the medications that have come out for AIDS, and HIV testing, and those things that have come forth. He would be so proud that he was a part of changing that, and being a part of being a pioneer in a sense of, of living that lifestyle and being comfortable in his own skin. And so that's why I congratulate him so much, and why I give him so many accolades, because I don't think he gets enough. There are some documentaries and some stories on him, but there aren't many. And they generally talk about, what happened in his past as a child, but they don't really, press the issue about his triumphs. So we're going to talk about that today. You said, I can drop his channel at the end of your live. He's really good at narrating true crime stories. It's an American channel with a British narrator. Absolutely. Make sure you put a link to that. You can put it right now in the channel. And I'd like everybody to make sure that they go over and subscribe to that. You said it was illegal to have on the wrong gender's clothing in a lot of places. Yes, it was illegal. That is the crazy part about it, right? not even just frowned upon. It was illegal. Like you can go to jail, right? And for just for just your sexuality is crazy, and it's just amazing how what we've come to now and what the world is like now, and how I wish that Sylvester was here to kind of see it, but we know in spirit that he is. But it would be nice to kind of hear what his reactions to these things would be. But either way, let's go ahead and get into his story, okay? Because I really would like there to us to really talk about these things and kind of understand how this connects to the Cogic Church as well. You said there are so few gay men of that age. It burns me deep in my soul how many have died. Yeah, me too. I was looking into some research on that, of how many people have passed away and how many famous people as well have passed from the disease. And yeah, make sure you guys go ahead and hit this link here so that you can subscribe over at this channel, and we can go ahead and listen in on some true crime over there. Okay. All right, guys. So let's go ahead and talk about him real quick and just get into a little bit of his story of his past. And we're going to talk about particularly his future and what some things that happened with him as he got older, and how those things were affected by, or how he got into that, and was this all started in the Cogic Church. Okay. Now, as we know, stars just kind of come and go, right? But they don't actually come as big as Sylvester. I mean, I think we all can agree on that. Now, he was born Sylvester James Jr. in Los Angeles in 1947. And he grew up in a very religious household. His mother and his stepfather, were all attending the family church, and that was the Pentecostal Palm Lane Church of God in Christ in Los Angeles. So let me show you guys that church real quick, because that church still actually exists to this day. Now, whether or not the family still attends the church or not, I can't confirm that. But I do know that this church in itself actually still exists there in Los Angeles, right there on Central Boulevard. Okay. So let's go ahead and get into what was happening over there, because generally he had a pretty decent life. He wasn't growing up. They weren't dirt poor, but they weren't rich either. Okay. But he had a big family. He had, it was 5 brothers and sisters. And it was his mother and his stepfather. Now, his mother knew, and the stepfather knew as well, that, he was feminine in nature, because he had always been that way. He had been that way from childhood. And Sylvester talks about this extensively in of several interviews that he did. And I will put a link to a couple of those interviews in my description box so you guys can kind of listen in yourself. But he talked, which gave me an eerie reminder of what some other members of the Cogic Church had said about members of the church who had taken advantage of them, or other people within the church who had taken advantage of them sexually as children. Okay. He had spoken of this individual or individuals, but particularly one in particular, as a relationship. Okay. And he said that this all began when he was 8 years old. He said around 8 years old is when this started. And it was again, a very eerie, similar story to some of the other stories we have talked about, where he was groomed at a very young age by, when he never mentioned any names. I want to say that, at least not publicly. But he did mention that these were higher ranked people within the church. Okay. And they were absolutely adults. Okay. And he was 8 years old. And the one particular person had started grooming him. And then, it started off with fondling and, a little bit of that stuff. And then it gradually grew into some more things. And then there were other members of the church as well within the same church that were doing these same things with him, not all together, but at different times. So it sounded like, and it seems like, based off of his story and some other stories, that there tends to be this idea within that church and within those ranks that there are conversations that are had amongst one another about younger members of the church. So they'll be able to tell them, yeah, I'm able to, and this is just an example, I'm able to groom this kid. So, I don't know if they have a meeting about it or what, but they just kind of let each other know that this kid is groomable in a sense, right? This has happened over and over again within the Cogic church, it looks like. And this has happened with multiple people who have, said this, okay? Some of them have called it abuse, have been old enough or have grown up old enough and become old enough to talk about it and call it abuse. Others have never looked at it that way because of whatever era they were in or whatever was happening at that time. And I believe that Sylvester kind of fell into a time frame of such. Okay, I'm going to talk about that a second, in just a second, and what I mean by that. But either way, we all know, and we know that if this had happened today, this would be a crime. Okay, as it was then. But we'll talk about why that may have not been talked about as much back then as it would be now. But either way, we know this would be a crime for someone to be having any type of sexual contact with an 8-year-old, okay? But this was happening to him. And this is around the time where he claims he realized he actually had feminine tendencies and he realized he liked men, okay? He got into what he felt was a relationship. And this lasted for years. This went on till he was about 13 or 14 years old. At that time is when he got injured, okay, in one of these instances with one of these individuals, with particularly the individual he claimed to be in love with, okay, who was a grown man, okay, y'all, grown ass man. And he was 14 years old, 13 or 14, and he was being molested since he was 8, okay? So either way, his mother ended up rushing him to the doctor because he was bleeding and he was injured, and she didn't know why. She got him to the doctor, and I don't know if she wasn't in the room with him with the doctor. That's not clear, okay? All we know is when he got to the doctor's office, the doctor examined him, and then the doctor came and told his mother, hey, listen, you're going to have to come to, an understanding that your son is gay. And she did not want to understand that, okay? Now, I know what you guys are thinking, the same way I was thinking. What do you mean a 13-year-old or a 14-year-old with this type of horrific injuries, the only thing you want to say as a doctor is, well, he's gay, right? You don't want to look into how this happened, who did this, why. Let's send some cops. Let's send somebody to investigate this. Let's make sure this doesn't happen to any more children, right? None of that happened, okay? It was, oh, he's gay. You're just going to have to understand it, and we moving on, okay? And his mother just kind of was like, she didn't even think of, well, what do you mean? Well, who did this? Well, why or how or any of this stuff? It was just, oh, well, no, I'm never going to accept that my son is gay. And the stepfather was the same way. The church became the same way, okay? Because now, Sylvester is just like very open with being gay, right? And saying, yeah, hey, I'm gay. This is what I am. You guys are just going to have to accept it. I've always liked men. I've been feminine. Y'all know it. I've always sang a certain way. I've always done things a certain way. I've always, dressed a certain way. So now y'all know this is what I am. And the church was not having it. So the church, even though the church was aware of who he was in a relationship, quote unquote, with, quote unquote, relationship, right? Who he was being molested by. The church was aware of that. They were aware of the fact that this was a grown man and these were grown men, okay? And that he was a child, and they ostracized the child. They didn't even worry about the men. They won't even release the names of these people or anything. We just know what church it is, okay? And that's it. So that all happened. But while all that was happening, he was also performing in the church, okay? So he was performing music in the church. He wasn't depressed about the molestation because in his mind, this was a relationship, okay? He wasn't thinking he was being molested. He wasn't thinking he was being taken advantage of, okay? And then he kept, going on, and he was doing all these performances at multiple churches in different places. And that's what got him out here in the scene and noticed by people. Okay, so that's how he kind of started with his career and with his singing is in the church. Now, he has not always sang in falsetto. I want to say that as well. He actually has a couple of albums, and I'll play them one day, where he sings in regular tone, in his regular tone, and then he also has a tendency to sing in a higher tone. There's different rumors out here about why he did that and the reasons behind that. I can't confirm those, of course, because he's not here to tell us, and I've never heard any interviews for him actually confirming why he did that. But one of those rumors is that because he had more of a feminine and softer side, he wanted to hear his voice in a softer tone, and he would attempt to sing in that tone because that was his side, okay? More or less that hardcore, that harsh baritone voice that he actually has. And if you listen to his voice long enough, you can hear that he really does have a baritone voice. He's actually singing outside of his tune, okay? But, it's okay because it's all classic now, and it makes sense to us in these days, based off of who he was and what he stood for. So I absolutely commend him for making that music in what he was feeling in that moment, because that's what music is all about. It's all about art, and it's about what that artist is feeling in that moment. And anybody and everybody that connects to it is going to connect to it exactly how it is. So I just wanted to say that. Now those are some of the things that happened, in his past. And again, these are things that never were brought to it. Nobody was, ever brought up on charges or anything like that. It just kind of got swept under the rug, right? And as I was looking at this and looking into this story, it reminded me of that time frame, right? Of when those things were just kind of happening. People were getting involved with older men, and older men were getting involved with, particularly with like younger women, right? And a lot of us have grandmothers and great grandmothers and so forth that were married to older men. Their man may have been 10 years older or 7 years older than them, And I often wondered why that seemed to be the norm at that time, or seemed to be okay. And I did a little bit of research on it, right? I couldn't find a whole lot, to be honest. I really could not find a whole lot on it, but there was a little snippet of something that I found that I thought was interesting, and I wanted to share this with you guys, because, like I said, a lot of the times that we think about how, younger people in the 30s and the 40s and the 50s kind of thought, as opposed to younger people in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s and even the 2000s, right? How people in these age ranges, even if you are dating an older man or older woman, you're still not going to be 13 years old and dating somebody at 24 or 25, right? If you are, more than likely your parents or your family are really going to have a problem with that, okay? Or somebody who's 13 dating a 30-year-old, you're definitely going to have an issue with that, right? But back in the day, they didn't, okay? They didn't have much of a problem with their 15-year-old daughters and their 16-year-old daughters dating 30-year-old men, right? And dating 25-year-old men and stuff like this. And I wonder why and where that mindset comes from, and how that has shaped us over the years, right? And how even through Sylvester's generation, how that ended up shaping some things that we're doing now. Let me change the screen back to him, because we're definitely talking about him right now. Now, I want to just read this, and this is from Cora Digest. And like I said, I could not find a lot on this at all, but I definitely just wanted to read this to you guys. And it sparked my mind on maybe where this mindset may have come from, okay? Said romantic liaisons have never been illegal. Sexual relationships are. The first law for age of consent in Europe was established in England in the late 13th century or so. As various other countries followed suit, the age was usually set within a few years of the age of majority, 12 for girls, 14 for boys. In the late 19th century, child prostitution and trafficking became a major social issue. White slavery was a growth problem in which women and girls were abducted and held prisoner in brothels, forced to serve as prostitutes. The trafficking of young girls to brothels in other countries, where they would be hampered by not knowing the language if they tried to escape, was big business. Reformers lobbied to have the age of consent raised as a legal tool to help protect children's right to innocence. Early proponents were interested in establishing higher moral standards in society, but since sex out of wedlock was illegal in most places, consent laws didn't always add much to that picture. It did prove a valuable tool in protecting children from sexual abuse, and in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, the age of consent began gradually increasing. Different countries and states have different ages. So I wanted to definitely just share that with my audience, okay? Not that I'm trying to in any way make this okay, right? But I want us to have a clear understanding of perhaps where the mindset that an older man or an older person sleeping with a much younger person is normal to people, okay? And that these kinds of things cycles had to be broken, literally broken, right? Because this is not acceptable, right? This was abuse. This was not normal. This was not okay. And that how long trafficking has been going on, you know, and where this has been happening and how long this has been taking place. And the fact that Sylvester was born in 47 and he has parents who would have been born more than likely in the 20s or even the teens of the 1900s, right? And then their parents would have been obviously born in the 1800s, right? And then we've got their parents who were born prior to that in the 1800s, right? Like the mid to early 1800s. So we've got we've got multiple generations of people that lived in times where this was the thing, okay? It was wrong. They knew it, but nobody talked about it because more or less the elites were the ones that were making money off of it. They were the ones that were participating in it, right? So, you know, because you had to have a couple dollars to even participate, you know? So everybody just kind of swept this kind of behavior under the rug until they couldn't anymore, you know? And so now people like Sylvester and people and others are a product of that. They are literally a product of years of covering up abusive behavior of people and people thinking that it is okay to just be abusive and to just get into relationships with children, you know, as if this is normal, right? When this is not normal. This is not okay. This is satanic. This is demonic. And this has destroyed millions of lives, obviously. Okay. So now we are where we are today, and these things aren't normal anymore. These things are these things are looked crazy upon. You know, we've got, you know, where, you know, somebody could be 18 and dating somebody that's, you know, 30, you know, if that's what they choose. But 16 and 15 is not okay, you know, and you can go to jail, right? And, you know, nobody, even if you don't go to jail, you're still looked upon like you're crazy. You know, this is no longer acceptable. But unfortunately, we've got people who have become products of our past and what was considered normal. And this isn't even just in the Black community. This is the entire world that has been accepted doing this kind of stuff. Like we said, this was trafficking that was going on all across the world. When we had the Atlantic slave trade, we also had sex trades and traffickings going on as well, you know? So, you know, these are just things to think about while we're talking about some of the things that have happened to Sylvester and how everybody just seemed to overlook that, which is tragic, you know? And it should have been stopped from the beginning, right? But that whole idea of keeping things quiet and keeping things, you know, hush hush and different things like that. These are all things that contributed to this, you know. But either way, let's go ahead and get into some of his triumphs, okay? because he was triumphant even after, dealing with what he dealt with in the church, and how the church just ostracized him. They never did anything with the people that were abusing him or anything. They just swept them under the rug. And, God knows what happened with them, whether or not they went on to other churches, whether they were molesting other kids. We don't know, right? All we know is that this happened to him, and it happened from more than one person in that same church. And they were all men. And, he felt like it was a normal thing. He felt like, this was a relationship to him. So either way, his parents ended up, the mother and stepfather, he ended up having some issues with them, and the church, right? And he ended up getting put out of the house. Well, actually didn't get put out. He left. Okay. He left, and he was just kind of homeless and just kind of sitting on his own. And he ended up getting into a group, that I talked about in the last video. But this group is called the Discotheques. Okay. He had met them over in Los Angeles, where he was kind of chilling and hanging out. And he did graduate from high school. He had went to Jordan High School in Los Angeles. He graduated in 69. He did study interior design for 2 years at Leinberg Beauty College as well. And he also studied archaeology as well. Okay. And he did work at the Museum of Ancient History at La Brea Tar Pits. Okay. So during this time, he did start and co-found that recording group, the Discotheques. So he was doing a lot in his life. He wasn't just sitting around, just sitting on his behind, not doing anything. Okay. He was actually really doing things and really getting things done and really handling his business, and always stayed on his grind. Okay. That was one thing that his family even said about him, which was particularly his grandmother, who he ended up, after he was homeless, he ended up moving in with the grandmother almost right away. And she took him right in, and she loved him. She loved the fact that she accepted that he was gay. She had friends that were gay. She actually was a singer back in like the 20s. And she used to sing in some of the old school bars, some of the old school nightclubs in the 20s, nightclubs and stuff. So she had multiple gay friends and stuff, and she knew people in the scene that would come around and hang out with him and hang out with her and stuff. So he fit right in right there. And she loved him. She used to let him dress in her clothes, and, try to set him up with different things and different stuff like that. So this was really a great time in his life. And thank God for his grandma, because I believe he really flourished in his career, and flourished in his confidence as a gay man, because he lived with her, right? And because she embraced his sexuality. She embraced who he was, and she just loved him unconditionally. And he learned to love himself the same way, regardless of what the church showed him, regardless of what, how much the church had failed him. He actually learned to really love himself and to embrace himself because of that. So shout out to her. But yes, he most definitely did join the Discotheques, and then he ended up joining another group called the Coquettes in 1967. He joined them. And that's a little theater troupe, which is a singing jazz and blues standards of 1920s and 30s. So they would kind of go around and perform these really cool acts, and just sing in these blues and jazz performances, and just do that. They did that a little bit into the 70s, and performed generally at the Anderson Theater. And they went over to that in New York City, which is in East Village. Okay. So Sylvester actually made his debut album on the Blue Thumb label, with Lights Out in 1971, and then followed in 1973 by Sylvester and Bazaar. And I think I showed you guys a picture of him on that. Okay. In 1976, Sylvester hired the singers Martha Wash and Izana Armstead Rhodes. And they actually did go, and the record producer Harvey Fuqua discovered them and signed them with Fantasy Records, which was produced the album Sylvester in 1977. Okay, so that's what he did with that. And then he went on and performed at the rock show at Winterland in San Francisco, and he opened up for Shaka Khan, y'all. Yes, he did. He appeared at the Castro Street Fair with Harvey Milk, and was profiled in GQ magazine as well. In 1978, which is the year I was born, James performed on Dick Clark's American Bandstand and on the Merv Griffin show as well. Okay, which was like really big for a openly gay person to be able to perform on these things. And it's not even so that much that he was openly gay. He was openly gay and showed it. Okay, wore makeup, wore dresses, wore sequins, wore wigs. He wore, he did this openly while performing. Okay, and so that was not heard of during that time, but that made him stand out for sure. So just wanted to share that. And then he also performed in 1979 at the San Francisco War Memorial Opera House and was awarded the Key to the City by Mayor Dianne Feinstein, okay, or Feinstein. And the concert was released as an album, which was called Living Proof. And also in 1979, the Disco International magazine deemed him as the best male disco act, okay, which I can think is definitely true, not only just because of the moves, because of the singing, because of the music, but because of the dress, right? Like I said, there was a lot of them back then that you didn't know whether they were or weren't, right? The Bee Gees was a group where they weren't gay as far as I know, right? But they definitely they didn't stand out when it came to disco, right? Because all of these men kind of did the same shit. They all danced the same ways. They all wore those same leisure suits, you know what I mean? And everything with the butterfly collars and stuff. Sylvester wore that when he felt like it, but he also would put on a dress and wear it better than you, honey. Yes. So, he definitely stood out when it came to stuff like that. And he definitely kicked in the door for those things. So over the course of his career, he did sing a variety of genres, which included ballads, jazz, blues, gospel, R&B, rock, torch songs, soul, and disco. He toured South America, Europe, the United Kingdom, and North America. Okay. And his album Step 2 in 1978 included gold records like You Make Me Feel Mighty Real, Dance Disco Heat, and received 3 Billboard Disco Forum Awards. Now, 3 more albums following Stars 1979, Sell My Soul 1980, and Too Hot to Sleep Fantasy Honey Records in 1981. Now, after working with Fantasy, Sylvester joined Megatone Records in 1981 and produced the albums All I Need in 1982, Call Me in 1983, and M1015 in 1984. In December 1986, on New Year's Eve, he did appear on The Late Show starring Joan Rivers. Okay, imagine being in her presence and just hanging out with her and just being able to talk about all the phenomenal music that you've made, right? I can just imagine that. In 1986, Sylvester joined Warner Brothers to produce his final album, which is called Mutual Attraction, which included some hit songs like Someone Like You. And he also sang with Aretha Franklin for her album Who, Zoom, and Who. In later years, he did become an AIDS awareness activist after his public appearance of letting everyone know that, he was, in fact, he had the HIV, or he had AIDS. Okay. And he never really got tested to say it, but his boyfriend at the time came out, his partner at the time came out and said that he was, and he actually passed away. And then, this all happened. And like I said, before he passed away, he did will to the AIDS Foundation that any of his music royalties and all of that stuff would go to them. And so that is how, when you play Sylvester music, you are actually contributing to that. Okay. So I just wanted to talk about, a lot of his triumphs and how, he has gotten to where he is now, or where he was before he passed away. And, why he is such a legend today, and that he is definitely worth celebrating. And I definitely appreciate everybody just kind of listening into that. And again, make sure that you guys do hit the like button. Let me go ahead and go back to the comment section so I don't miss you guys' comments. And then we are going to end the show. Definitely appreciate all of you, though. All right. And Living Life, I definitely appreciate you putting that link in the comments section. Make sure that you guys do hit that link so you can go over and subscribe. You said it's like we're missing an entire generation. Yes, for sure. It really is. It's, people that could have taught us so much, but they definitely put the spirit out for us to do what we need to do today, and how much we have accomplished today over this, right? You said people see the high rates of childhood abuse amongst gay men and assume the abuse made them gay. Right, right. You said, wow, that's terrible. You said they did not care, unfortunately, and didn't. You said, Steph, don't you think it could be linked? You said, Steph, higher levels of female who were abused are bisexual or lesbian. You said, thanks for watching, everyone. Please like, share, subscribe to Black Lounge Divine. You said, very heartbreaking, for sure. You said, I think it is, but in a different way. I think abusers target children showing signs of same sex orientation or gender nonconformity. Yeah. You said, I love Sylvester. Hello. Hey, LB. I appreciate you for being in the building. You said, remember the TV show Gidget, a high school girl dating a college man. Yeah. And back then it was just considered normal, right? So in the mind of his mom, you know, not I can't tell you what she was thinking for sure, but in the mind of Sylvester's mom, I can only, imagine that based off of what they all considered sweeping under the rug and normal, she didn't even bother to think that this was abuse. You know what I mean? That this was all she could think of is he's gay. I can't let my son be gay, instead of this man is abusing my son. You know what I mean? Because in their minds, they didn't even go to abuse. You know what I mean? They just went to gay. That was the only thing they could think of, which is crazy. Because nowadays we wouldn't even think of gay. We would think of this person is abusing my child. You know what I mean? That would be what we would think. So it's just nuts. You said, Miss LB, you said, hey, you said there's 4 narrators on They Will Kill You, but he's the only Black Brit. Oh, okay. I'm really interested in checking that out. You said, hello, Miss LB. Hey, Muslim, appreciate you. You said, Black Lounge Divide, just passing through, paying homage, Queen. Thank you. Appreciate that. You said, it may not be an intentional calculation abusers do. I think it's an inherent bias because those children are thought of as weaker, not as honest, deserving of less protection, less innocent. Right. They're just weaker, right? Which is nuts. It's just crazy. And it's all passed down over time. You said women needed marriage for economic stability too. So older men were better catch, more money. Yeah, that was another thing. That was another thing I had come across, right? Where some of the older women were just kind of teaching their daughters this, well, get you an older man, he's going to, especially during the Depression, right? During the Great Depression, get you an older man who has more stability with work. He can make sure that he can keep a roof over your head, and that kind of thing. And the women just kind of got comfortable in that and was like having babies with these people and just living this way. And it's not that they didn't have to work, but they didn't, they thought of this as stability is a man that's older. And sometimes we all still kind of think this way. My husband was older than me, right? He, of course, I was an adult, but, he was older than me. And so, we do tend to do that even still, nowadays, but it should not have been encouraged to children. That's the thing. These women should have been at least 18 before they were allowed to get married and go off and have children with somebody. Their brains weren't even fully developed, And now, nowadays we know this and we talk about these things, but we weren't talking about this back then. They were actually encouraging their daughters to get married, and to marry an older man, So, and some fathers were encouraging their daughters too, it's crazy, just nuts. He said, living life to the fullest. Salam alaikum, sis. He said, peace and blessings, chat. You said, Marhaba, Muslim. Good afternoon, Miss LB. You said some victims of childhood abuse have said it messed up their sexuality. It can confuse them. Right. Definitely can. And I'm not saying that happens to everyone. I want to make that clear. I don't think that happens to everybody. I don't think that, everyone who has a sexual preference for the same gender was abused. I don't think that either. I want to make that clear too. But I also do think that being a victim of sexual abuse as a child most definitely can shape your sexuality as an adult. and shape how you view sex, the things that you do, and various things. I really do think that. Being a victim of abuse myself, I can definitely speak to that. So you said Stephanie Collins, Maraba's sister, you beautiful Bernice. You said, how was the inspiration for 2 Tons of Fun? You said he was the inspiration for 2 Tons of Fun. Yes, definitely was. And they are really fun. And they, if you ever get to look at anything that they sang, they did the Mighty Real song together, and some other things too. So you said, living life to the fullest. I don't think it's my place to argue with LGBT people who think because they know best about themselves. It just doesn't statistically seem to pan out as a major cause. Yeah, and that's what I was going to say. I can't say that people who are sexually abused as a child all become, same gender loving, right? I can't say that. I also can't say that, you know, if you're same gender loving, that, you were abused. That's not true. There's so many stigmas on it all that it's a really touchy subject. But I prefer to have the conversation with people who are in the community and can really speak on to these, matters. You said the Coquettes were something else, like really something else. Yeah, they were definitely something to look at for sure. You said the Bee Gees were talented songwriters, and I'm not trying to hate, but they took black disco and saltined it up, and sure did. I think they were from I want to say their family is from Morocco or something like that. But it's not black people, but they're not fully white either. I'm not really sure where they're from, but I can't. They're like Mediterranean or something. I can't remember what they are, but either way, he says, Steph, good point. I'm quite weary of public states. Sad all around. Vulnerable children need more protection. Absolutely. Absolutely. You said Dianne Feinstein is a United States Senator. Damn, she's 90 years old. Yep, she was the mayor of San Francisco, 1978 to 1988. You said money talks for sure, for sure. Well, listen, guys, I really appreciate all of you for hanging out with me today. Yes, make sure you guys hit that like button. You said the second came into the live. It's a good practice, so you don't forget. Absolutely. Make sure that y'all do hit that like button on the way out. And guys, I really appreciate y'all for coming in and listening to Sylvester's story. He is definitely, to me, always will be a triumphant angel who has taught us so much on how to get through some of the hardest things you could ever experience and just still, maintain a beautiful, beautiful smile all while doing it. So I really appreciate everybody for coming out today. Again, hit the like button on the way out. And guys, I will talk to you guys later. Appreciate you guys for being in. And peace, guys. Thank y'all for watching.